Temple, and we watched Fran Dunphy's team put on quite a second-half show, led by Will Cummings against Louisiana Tech.
One of the really good senior guards in the country, and primarily because he's been a great leader for this team, putting them on his back down the stretch of the season.
And for Canes fans, they saw the name Manu LeConte getting the start again at point guard. Angel Rodriguez has been out the last couple of games with a wrist injury that he suffered against Florida State towards the end of the ACC regular season, re-aggravated that injury in the ACC tournament, and is not able to go tonight. So it's the sophomore Manu LeConte, number 20, in black, green, and orange, that gets the start at point guard.
Fred, there's going to be a lot of good defense. What do you think played by both of these teams?
Both of these teams, Coach, play good man-to-man defense. They'll mix in a little zone, too. And, you know, Temple's been known for some zone through the years.
We played him when Harry Litwack was the coach. Played the 2-3 zone for all of his career, and he was a heck of a coach.
Couple of misses from three for the Canes at one end. Quentin DeCozy rings the bell at the other end and gets the Owls on the board.
You know, Temple doesn't turn the ball over much, but that's partly because Fran Dunphy lets them play a lot of one-on-one, and it works for them.
And Jim Larrañaga the same. Both of these teams are low turnover, low mistake teams. Both in the top 13 in college basketball in fewest turnovers per game. And a rip down rebound by Jalen Boyd. So the Owls have the ball in the early lead.
For that move on the drive to the bucket, sometimes you're better off to look for a dump off somewhere because things get pretty crowded.
We are playing with the experimental rules again. Only a 30-second shot clock, and it winds down to 5. Cummings on the drive, sets up Bond from deep. That's no good. And the rebound pulled down by Sheldon McClellan.
One of the things, I bet you've noticed this too, Temple does a really good job of that second defender coming in and helping out.
Yep, they put a lot of bodies in the lane. This young man, Shaqiri, Coach, only been playing basketball a couple of years. You average 11 rebounds a game in the ACC, and that's pretty good work.
You average 11 rebounds a game in the backyard, that's pretty good.
Exactly.
McClellan runs down the miss by Morgan. And a chance for Miami to take the lead.
Well, I was surprised that Temple got scored against when that second defender didn't show up. Now, there he is right there. It really took it away from him.
This time a three goes down for Ivan Cruz Uceda. He missed his first from straight away, but he shoots 35% from three.
Looks like they're going to go to I'm going to think they're going into a little matchup here. Let's see. They start to switch.
DeCozy sets up Devontae Watson. That's his first bucket. He only averages about 3 points per game.
Coach, when you taught players coming off screens, did they watch the defense or did they watch their teammate with the ball?
What I wanted first of all was let's watch the ball. Let's catch it, and then let's see what we've got. They did a great job back down here offensively.
Davon Reed, that's the C's part. That's a finger roll that extends the Miami lead.
So they had good patience, Temple had, and then Miami comes right back with really good patience on offense down here.
One thing I've noticed is the ball doesn't, now the ball's sticking in his hands, Cummings, but both teams are moving the ball reasonably well.
Another bucket for DeCozy. He's only a junior. And that's a big theme, isn't it, Fran, for both of these teams? They have a lot of talent coming back for two teams that almost made the NCAA tournament.
Great catapult for the following year, there's no question.
Shaqiri thought about it from deep, now tries it. That's in and out. Uncontested rebound for Jalen Bond. Bond led the AAC in rebounding. Shaqiri led the ACC in rebounding.
It's pretty good defense on the baseline that time by Miami. They didn't give up anything.
Shot clock under 10.
Now there was
Morgan.
Secondary defender coming in.
Yep.
The help is so important.
Tried to bank it home on the fadeaway, and Jakiri's got another rebound.
How many times did you say these 3 words when you were coaching? Help and recover.
Yes.
Boy. I wanted to make sure.
I didn't forget. And that forced a tough shot because the ball handler had no place to go.
Shot clock to 5 for Jakiri. The jump hook rolls home. We have yet to have a whistle 5 minutes in. The Knicks play here, but so do the Rangers. It's like a hockey game.
This is good flow so far.
Just keep rolling the clock. 5 minutes gone by. Now we get a whistle.
The other big kid for Temple gave up the help situation there. Kind of looked at it, backed off, and it cost him a bucket.
Fran, a good start for Enechionyia.
Yep. Here's the big guy. Nice little jump hook over the left shoulder. Finish around the rim. That's good.
Typifies what the coaches that get their teams to Madison Square Garden preach to their teams about this tournament.
Yeah, especially because they have so many guys back next season. And for Jim Larrañaga, believe it or not, a long time in his business. First time he's coached in this building as a head coach. He grew up in Parkchester in the Bronx, and he's back home. Nice homecoming.
Sheldon McClellan, too strong from 3. The long rebound to Will Cummings. Nice find on the roll to Bond. Cummings in transition with a pretty bounce pass. And Jim Larrañaga in his 31st year as a head coach, his 4th year at Miami. And, of course, 2013 took the Canes to the Sweet 16, winning the ACC regular season title for the first time ever, and then winning the ACC tournament. He was the conference coach of the year that year.
Well, I got to tell you guys, Coach Fran Dunphy was a terrific player at LaSalle. Jim played for Joe Mulaney and Dave Gavitt at Providence. They were offensive guys, not necessarily defensive guys, and they let their players, I think, have a lot of freedom on offense.
You know, he played with what, as a kid, was my favorite player. Can you guess who it was?
Oh, Fran Dunphy?
Tom Gola.
Tom Gola was his coach. That's right.
Boy, he was a great player. You know, he was one of the first players that could do everything, including play defense.
Was he the first player, I think, to be the MVP of the NCAA tournament and also the NBA, maybe? We'll have to check on that.
James Palmer's first jumper comes up short.
Now, they won the NCAA when he was a senior, I think. LaSalle did. There's good help.
DeCozy into the post to Bond. The jump hook comes up short, but he follows his own miss and banks it home. Jalen Bond with a pretty bucket.
You know, that's something you really don't see a heck of a lot of anymore, where a kid has a fairly, in close shot, and he's ready to go after it if he misses. That kid was so quick going after the miss. I think that's the best shot, miss, put it back in I've seen all year long.
And Tanya Jakiri shaken up on that bucket by Jalen Bond. So we'll get an opportunity, I think, to try and see what happened to Jakiri after we hear Fran Dunphy talk, Coach Knight, about what you and he have often reminisced about when you've had an opportunity to spend some time together.
We probably spent most of our time talking about Tom Gola, who coached me in college at junior and senior year at LaSalle. And he was just a huge fan of Tom Gola. Tom passed away most recently, and we would talk about him a lot, and what a phenomenal basketball player he was. He was a
big factor, and a loss for a Miami team that's already down their junior point guard, Angel Rodriguez.
Yes, but they've played a lot of guys this year, especially the NIT, and hopefully the young man will be back. A little bit of pressure by Temple, back to man-to-man, and Coach, they really packed the defense in. They almost dare you to shoot jump shots.
You know, the thing about that, as you well know, though, is when that kid goes up for the jump shot against the packed defense, the defender has a great chance to go out after.
Yeah.
Jesse Morgan knocks down a triple, and it's a 4-point Temple lead.
Well, that was a great classic shot Morgan had there. Heads in front of his feet, great release. That was a pretty shot.
Well, he takes 7 threes a game, so he's used to that.
James Palmer fouled on the drive. Let's take a look at that classic release of Jesse Morgan.
What do you like about
Watch it. The perfect balance, perfect release. That arm, hand falls over. I had guys sometimes, Fran, that 7 times I wouldn't let him shoot a 3.
In a career.
That's right. Quinn Buckner was, once in a while, I gave him but not nearly as much as other guys. But Buckner was one of the great players I ever coached.
Will Cummings gets the bucket at the other end after Jesse Morgan forced the turnover. It's an 8-0 Temple run. That's opened up the lead over the last 2 minutes.
Speaking of Buckner, he's not quite as good, but this young man, number 2, Cummings, really good team leader for Fran Dunphy.
Bond had the rebound, knocked out of bounds by Jaquan Newton, and we talked about the experimental rules being used in the NIT this year. Not only the shot clock being reduced by 5 seconds, but the restricted area being increased by 1 foot. Have you guys seen a tangible impact, at least in the small sample size of this tournament, that might lead to these rule changes?
No, but I want to ask Coach, his 76 team averaged 82 points a game with no shot clock. How would you coach with a 30-second clock today?
I think we'd do the same thing that we did with it back then. I think that you just, and the thing that I always like, that we've talked about it, is get up off the baseline. And if you get crowded on the baseline, you've taken away half your offense, I've always thought. You mentioned Buckner. Buckner was about as good a combination of smart and tough as anybody I ever coached.
Yep. A near steal at midcourt by Jesse Morgan. Just that close to a three-point play on the drive by Jaquan Newton. And he'll shoot 2 when we come back, as Temple has been hot of late, opening up a 6-point lead. Semifinal number 1, trying to play for a spot in the championship game on Thursday.
Why wait for the weekend for fun? Head to
Don't play outdoors anymore. When I was growing up in New York City, I mean, you couldn't get into a gym. All summer long, you played on the playground. And you were lucky if you had nets.
Yeah, you could. What you could do is fix a window somewhere. So now you had to do that when you were a kid. You fix a window in the band room or something.
Yeah.
And you slip in through that window, and then maybe
we did do that. We did sneak into gyms.
That's exactly what I did too.
I lived across from a synagogue in Brooklyn, and they had a gym. And I snuck in there many a night and shot baskets without lights on.
I snuck in one time. It was the only time I ever got caught in high school sneaking into the gym, but I had wet sneakers and they tracked me.
The freshman Jaquan Newton knocks down a couple of foul shots, heads to the bench. Manu LeConte back in the game, and here's the rebound pulled down by Davon Reed.
Yeah, LeConte's a good young player. He's played a lot with Angel Rodriguez. He had 23 at Duke this year in that big win.
Omar Sherman just comes up short. Knocked out of bounds. It belongs to Temple.
Miami has a little bit of a tendency to stay on 3/4 of the court. They overload toward the ball a little bit, I think.
A reminder, Thursday night, catch an exciting night of college hoops on ESPN2. At 7, we've got the State Farm College Slam Dunk, the 3-point championships. And then at 9, we'll have the NIT championship game here at the Garden. All of that also live on Watch ESPN.
Well, Miami has worked hard at helping recover. They see that guy coming. Boy, there's help almost without, right there was.
Jesse Morgan turns it over. Although a great job by Enechionyia to get it right back for Temple. Here's Jacozy, but a shot clock violation. They needed that extra 5 seconds.
Well, Cummings didn't look at the shot clock until it was too late. And that's something that he has to have a clock in his head. But, Coach, you're going to see great help and recover right here. Take a look. It's those black jerseys.
They're very good. Again, to me, from a defensive standpoint, you and I have talked about this over the years, but it's really hard. The offensive guy has an advantage. You know, I'm guarding you, and you fake right or you move right. If I don't go, you go right. Mm-hmm. And I've got to move with you a little bit, and then that's when you make your move. That secondary defender is there to help and then recover.
Sheldon McClellan tries to muscle one up. That's blocked by Enechionyia.
And Enechionyia came right over there, just like Coach was saying, and filled in the lane and got that blocked shot. He's only a freshman.
He'll step back and try a jumper. That's in and out, and Manu LeConte, only a sophomore, has the rebound.
That's where I'd like to see the shot fake. Defender is coming at him hard. Shot fake, the defender's going to go by him, and now he's got a wide open 15-footer. And I think the shot fake is getting to be one of the lost arts in the game.
And if he shot fakes and the defender comes over, he just drops it off to the open man.
And if that guy comes at you hard, shot fake, and you get by, now you're 5-on-4. And that's what I think the offense has to work at creating, is situations where they're at an advantage, not a disadvantage. You know, that's why stay off the baseline. The tighter you are to the baseline, the greater the disadvantage, and fake and drive to the bucket. Gets 8 feet up, you got a chance going either way.
Daniel Dingle replaces Jalen Bond for Temple. Cummings picked up the foul on LeConte. And Manu LeConte missed the first of the 2 free throws, knocks down the second, but still Miami struggling from the field. They have not had a field goal in over 5 minutes, still only down by 3.
Well, we saw how well Temple moves the ball and then tries to drive it, and that's why Miami's help's got to be so good. That's a tough shot right there.
And a foul called on the reach-in on LeConte that bails out Will Cummings, who barely drew iron. That's the second on LeConte. And, of course, no Angel Rodriguez out with the wrist injury. So now Jim Larrañaga at least has a little bit of mild foul trouble to worry about in his backcourt.
He's got Davon Reed, who can be his backup point guard at 6'6".
I would probably have 1 or 2 negative thoughts toward the guy that fouled the three-point shooter.
Yes. Jump shot.
I might have gotten a little irritated on that one from a defensive standpoint.
Not buying it. Will Cummings has been terrific in the NIT. He's averaging in the 3 wins for Temple 22 points and 55% shooting to get them here to Madison Square Garden.
Well, you made a great point in the beginning, Bob, when you talked about the quality of player and the quality of team that comes to the NIT, particularly the NIT finals here in New York.
Cummings almost got the steal. Let's take a look, at least at Miami, and what the future holds for Jim Larrañaga.
Yeah, and, you know, they have really no senior that plays a key role. You see how many young players. He's got Kamari Murphy sitting out, the transfer from Oklahoma State, who is a very good interior defender. I'm going to be interested to see this Miami team next year in the ACC. Lots of talent coming back.
Shot clock to 5. LeConte trying to size up Dingle. And this could be a shot clock violation if he ever stops dribbling.
Well, he got it for a 5-second count before the shot clock went off. And that's what we've talked about. Both teams, Coach, they really pack the lane in. And if one guy is dribbling the ball, you know what I used to say? You're giving the ball a headache. Pass it.
Is there an indication there to you as to the effect of the 30-second shot clock?
You know, there's more possessions, but I think coaches have got to be a little bit more creative if they're going to play with the lower clock.
Cummings was looking for a foul, didn't get the call. Davon Reed at the other end tosses up an air ball, and that lands on the baseline. It goes right back over to Temple.
Well, that last possession down at this end of the floor, that last possession with Miami on offense, the Temple defense did a great job in helping out and preventing a good shot from occurring. They took the shot completely out of the offense's hands.
Josh Brown with a bullet pass to Dingle. That's no good, and the rebound way up in the air. Sheldon McClellan pulls down another.
How much do you like good pressure, good block out, defensive rebound?
Yeah, you know, the defensive rebound is the most underrated part of the whole defense. You got to get the ball back, right?
Joe Thomas rejected on the drive. Joe Thomas is the grad student from Niagara, the only player that will be lost by Jim Larrañaga next season. And a reminder, the women's Final Four is set. South Carolina will take on Notre Dame, and UConn will meet Maryland for a spot in the national championship game. Coverage begins Sunday at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN. For more, visit NCAA.com, a home for all 89 NCAA championships. And Fran, to your point, number 2 in black, Joe Thomas, the only player that Jim Larrañaga is going to lose heading to next season. He goes to the bench now. He went to high school with Angel Rodriguez. He's a grad student, but he's from Miami, went to school at Niagara, played 3 years there, had 1 year of eligibility left, and they're playing pickup. And Angel Rodriguez is like, we might need a big guy.
Yeah.
What are you doing this fall? I don't know. What do you think? He joins the Miami basketball team.
I got to throw this in. Brown is a beneficiary of a dumb defensive play that was worth 2 points to his team. I've always said dumb loses more games than smart wins sometimes.
Well, Brown, this young man, Josh Brown, he'll be the point guard next season. He played for Bob Hurley at St. Anthony's, so he's very well schooled. Nice move. This young guy, Enechionyia, is only a freshman. He can block some shots. We saw him shoot the jumper. Good feel around the hoop.
Well, coming back to Madison Square Garden.
You don't remember the 38 NIT, but you do remember when Temple won in 1969 with Coach Litwack and Jumpin' Johnny Baum, who's right down the road from us doing the color analyst for
you would be surprised. In 38 or 39, Claire B may have won the NIT, and that was his big goal, as it was Coach Lapchick's goal, until the NCAA, right around maybe the 50s or the early 50s, the NCAA became the equivalent of the NIT, and then the NCAA took charge of it and put the tournament where it is now. But I'll tell you what, the NIT and the people that work it deserve a big plus on behalf of basketball for what it's done for kids.
Well, speaking of John Baum, there he is, the Temple forward back in the late 60s, their radio analyst. And we've heard both coaches talk about help and recover. A closer look at one of the keys for both of these teams when we come back to the Garden.
Thing you can teach your team is consistency in the secondary help man, help and recover.
And you told me that when you practiced, so for coaches who are listening out there, 4 defenders versus 5 offense. There's kind of an overload theory, right?
I wanted it to be tougher on the defense so that they just had to really work and then learn that actually they could play with 4 against 5. And as long as that second guy came in, helped and recovered, they could do a good job. And now if we're playing 5-on-5, we should be really good.
Sheldon McClellan fouled on the drive. Good job defensively by Temple so far, holding Miami under 28%. But Fran Dumpy talked to us about the offensive efficiency he was hoping to see as well.
Yeah, and both teams have played good defense. We saw the scouting report walk through today. They know each other well.
Let's hear from Coach Dumpy.
I think there's 2 reasons for that. One is Jalen Bond, who was not with us in previous years. I think his versatility and his flexibility as a defender have really helped us. He can guard people on the post. He can guard people on the wing. So we can switch at any time with him and not feel mismatched. And the other guy I would give great credit to is Will Cummings. And not only has he done a great job on the offensive end and been a great leader, but he's very good at keeping people in front of him. So we've denied a lot of dribble penetration from the top. And I think that's just helped us immeasurably.
Was a classic help and recover possession right there. I mean, I'd want to take that out. I'd want to take that out and show it to the kids every single day that we played. This is what we have to have defensively.
How many clips would you show your team? Like if you played a really good defensive team the next day in practice, how many things would you show them to show them the things they did well?
I'd pick out one, and I'll tell you why. I think the kids get tired of watching film about it. You've got to be really careful that you just don't inundate them with film.
Enechionyia missed the fadeaway. Bond keeps it alive on the offensive glass. A scrum for it. Eventually it rolls out of bounds, and it will stay with Temple.
I think we all as coaches probably overload our kids too often. You know, we're anxious. We want them to be the best. We want to help them. And I think we have to really be careful that we don't really put these kids in a position where they're just listening and listening and listening. You know, it's like that old thing about the brain can, the rear end can only endure what the brain can supply, you know, and I think you've got to be very careful about how much you go over and over things.
So they don't, you want them to react as opposed to think.
Well, I think you got to think. I mean, and you know that too. But I think practice has got to be. Now, see, there was not a good help in recovery. That was too slow, and yet you got to give the Temple kid really quick, caught it, step, shot.
Will be Enechionyia with the baseline jumper. Only a freshman, but that does extend the Temple lead back up.
And I know you don't like that pick and roll, but that was a pretty good move right there.
And there's Enechionyia playing good defense at the rim as well.
I cannot believe it took you 15 minutes to bring up that pick and roll situation.
Pick and pop. Boy, Abernathy would have been great at that if you'd have ball screen for him.
Yeah. That was never going to happen. But now, Bob mentioned the freshman kid made that move, and he was really quick with it. He had room. He stepped in with that right foot. That was really pretty to watch.
Miami has missed 12 of their last 13 from the field. DeCozy on the drive, finds Enechionyia, hangs and draws the foul. He'll have a chance to extend to a double-digit lead for the Owls.
You got to think, Bob, that without Angel Rodriguez, who really manufactures good offense for Jimmy Larrañaga, they've really struggled in the half court. But I give Temple a lot of credit. You see Angel, the junior guard, transfer from Kansas State, who's had a very good year. I saw them beat Duke in Cameron, which doesn't happen very often, and he really got into the teeth of that Duke defense.
We've also been told Tanya Jakiri is back in the locker room. The team doctors for UM are taking a look at the ACC's leading rebounder. He has what they're describing as a face and mouth injury. Well, we saw the shot he took from Jalen Bond. We'll be told more at halftime, but he has not come back to the bench. So it doesn't look like we're going to see him at least until the second half, if at all. That's two big, important starters that Jim Larrañaga's team is down here in the semifinal.
Well, Miami trailed at Richmond in the second half by 18, so we know they have some intestinal fortitude.
Shot clock under 10. They scored 45 points in the second half, and they were helped by Davon Reed in that game, and Reed gets a bucket here on the drive to cut the lead back to single digits.
All right, now Cummings just gave away the help defensive situation. It was a reach, and you're not going to stop anybody with a reach, but if he moves in position, that bucket doesn't work.
At the other end by DeCozy, though, with a chance for a three-point play.
Yeah, watch DeCozy get into the paint. All the way, no real help.
Well, again, he was alert. He saw his opportunity, and it was almost like, but what do you think? It was almost like when he got to the three-point line, he accelerated. Yeah. He saw he had a clear cut to the bucket.
DeCozy's first miss of the game comes at the line. 3 for 3 from the field. He was terrific against Louisiana Tech in the quarterfinal win for Temple. His first career double-double. 21 points and 11 rebounds. Now Temple picks up the foul.
Well, that's the same thing Cummings just did a moment ago.
We'll step aside for just a moment. The first of our two semifinals, Old Dominion and Stanford, to follow.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of the NIT is brought to you by State Farm. For auto, home, life, and banking, get to a better state.
The Masters Par 3 contest, Wednesday, April 8th on ESPN.
What made you switch to Taco Bell breakfast?
It's like it doesn't matter where you go, it's the same thing, which is like in England.
This season than they did last season in Temple.
And it was really an uncharacteristically down year last year. Fran Dunphy's done a great job at Temple, and prior to that, he spent a lot of time at Penn where he got the Quakers to the NCAA tournament.
Burnett knocks down a three. That's a big shot for the Canes.
Yeah, he has always been a scorer, the young man out of Miami. He averaged 37 in high school as a senior.
He was 5th in the nation in high school scoring when he had that terrific year. A redshirt freshman, and the takeaway by DeAndre Burnett. A fast break basket for Jaquan Newton.
Well, that's classic, though. Outrun the defense. It's not outrun the offense when you've got the ball on conversion. It's outrun the defense, and they did a great job with that one, Miami. That's the best from defense to offensive possession they've had tonight.
Another turnover. Josh Brown takes steps.
You said it, Coach. Watch how it started with great help. Watch the jerseys. And then now they're out in conversion like you talked about.
Look at the spread they have, Fran. They really did a great job. That's smart look at what's going on and take advantage of what you have. That was classic.
There's Jason Randall back in the middle of the group of Cardinal that have arrived as they're getting set to take on Old Dominion in semifinal number 2. Here at the NIT, Newton muscles his way inside, fades away, misses everything, way up in the air, and it caroms to Jesse Morgan.
That had been a big possession for Miami to have gotten a bucket there. I thought they were a little bit too quick with what they did.
Morgan, a line drive jumper, barely hits the front rim. Jaquan Newton pushes tempo the other way.
What did you think of this when you were coaching? Going down the wire at halftime, I wanted to get us to the free throw line. I want us to get it spread and maybe get a couple fouls on somebody. That last possession here that Temple had, I counted it from midcourt to the shot was just 4 seconds.
You know, I had a rule, Coach. If we miss 3 jumpers in a row, the 4th one better go into the paint. And the last 3 minutes of the half, usually both teams are in the bonus, so why not pound it inside?
Well, and I think you really make the defense play because toward the end, now right there was a heck of a move on the part of Miami and a very poor recovery or help and recover on the part of Temple in there.
Davon Reed's drive caps a 7-0 Miami run over the last minute and a half.
It's a matchup of 2 guys that I know are close to you. You coach Mike Krzyzewski, and you watched Tom Izzo take the reins from one of your good friends, Judd Heathcote.
That'll be a tough game, but that's going to be a game where both teams will play well defensively, and mistakes will be important in it because buckets are not going to be really easy to get.
Another takeaway by Miami after the Temple timeout. DeAndre Burnett throws a wild one up, looking for a foul, no call, and Temple's got it back.
Boy, that was a poor use of that possession.
Jesse Morgan drives it. It's rejected and stripped away by Davon Reed. Newton leads it for McClellan.
Bad offensive possession for Miami, bad defensive possession for Miami. That really hurt them in that little comeback they've been making right in there.
And this run by the Canes, keyed by something you never see from Temple, and it's points off turnovers as that jumper goes down from deep along 2 for Jesse Morgan. But, guys, the only team in America that allows fewer points off turnovers than Temple is Wisconsin, who's in the Final Four. So you don't usually see teams getting takeaways and scoring against the Owls.
If Temple were to win this game, that defensive possession and the resulting offensive possession may be the most important possession in the game for him.
Oregon a rebound off the miss by Cruz Uceda.
Now, see, that's where you and I were talking about. You got 30 seconds, 35 seconds to play. Let's get up high. Let's spread it. Let's shot fake. Let's go to the bucket. Let's shoot free throws.
Right. Sometimes these coaches like to shoot it quickly to get that second possession back.
After the, yep.
Maybe he just thought,
play good defense in between the 2 and still have a chance to score.
Cummings draws the foul after a pretty behind-the-back dribble created a driving lane, and he'll go to the line.
Well, this has been a little reversal right here. For as you guys were talking, boy, Miami got back into this. They did a great job, and all of a sudden, here with just 14 seconds to play, this could be the 3rd really crucial play that Temple has made here to kind of offset what happened.
Well, the way I look at it is you got 2 teams with 50 combined wins. They've been through the trials and tribulations of the whole season, so you wouldn't expect one team to get way up without the other team fighting back anyway, especially with these 2 coaches. I did read that book, The Power of Negative Thinking, by the way.
I count 12 seconds to go in the first half, so a chance for the Canes to hold for 1.
I wrote that just for guys like you. I'm glad you did.
Well, you know you're going to see pick and roll here.
Burnett looking up at the shot clock, tosses one up, and it almost deadened against the backboard and fell through. So it's Temple by 5 at halftime. It certainly couldn't have been worse, though.
In there.
What do you think of this one?
You know what I think of that one. I went out and patted everybody on the butt that came in to help on that one.
And that led to pretty good offense. There's a correlation here.
There again is a great help. And this was a huge bucket right here. And that's one of those buckets that got Miami kind of back into a position where they could, get out of it.
No player for either team with more than 7 points in the first half, and no player for either team in any foul trouble. We've got a couple of players on each team with 2. So we play the second half expecting to see the key players on the floor, although Tanya Jakiri still has not returned to the bench for Miami. We're waiting on the injury update for the big center for UM as he took a shot right across his nose from Jalen Bond in the first half, went back to the locker room and has not returned since.
Does that help?
Yep, and he played with his hands too, Coach.
An NBA 3 goes down for Cruz Uceda.
Boy, he has a quick release, and Fran, that's the second one from over there, but when he catches the ball, that shooting foot, right-handed right foot, that foot is back and he steps into it. The kid's got a really good move into a three-point shot.
That's the Spanish version, too. He grew up in Madrid, Spain.
Antonio Diaz-Miguel, one of the great coaches in international history, was a great friend of mine as a Spanish coach.
Cummings drive no good, but there's Jalen Bond for the putback.
This young man played at Texas for Rick Barnes and didn't get a lot of playing time, but he did learn how to rebound and play defense.
So many times, and you're well aware of this, so many times the kid doesn't go to the board, he watches instead.
Yeah.
And in watching that tip in, he came about 8 feet to make the tip in down there. That was a great offensive play.
That's the same guy you complimented in the first half because he was a quick second jumper. I think you beat Spain in the gold medal game, did you not?
We did.
In 1984?
Yep.
Was Antonio coaching?
Yep. He's a very close friend. Very, very best international coach I believe I ever saw.
Another offensive rebound off the Bond miss. Jesse Morgan kept it alive. And let's go back to the first half. This was the injury we were talking about as Jakiri took that shot. The left arm of Bond coming down. Inadvertent as Bond was crashing the offensive glass. Got a putback bucket. And as he brought his left arm down, it caught Jakiri. And Jakiri has not been able to return. And
he's been a guy that was basically a double-double guy for Jim Larranaga this year. Much improved. That's too easy.
Nice feed by Burnett, finds Jaquan Newton. That is redshirt freshman to freshman right there. So the youth of Miami continuing to show. Here's another freshman in Enechionyia for Temple.
It was a very poor defensive recovery from offense for Temple a moment ago.
Jesse Morgan can't hit the three. And this was Jakiri when he was on the bench shortly after taking the shot from Jalen Bond. They took him back to the locker room, and we're still waiting for an update as to whether or not he'll be able to return. DeCozy with a spin move, recovers. Another tip in. This time, it's the guard Jesse Morgan, the senior from Philadelphia, rising up to make it a 4-point game again.
I like the way he snuck right in on the baseline there. That's good effort.
7 points and 5 rebounds already for Jesse Morgan.
Little 2-3 zone, Coach.
Yep. You mentioned good comment back there among many, but the guy that got to get out on him.
3 goes down for DeAndre Burnett. 2 threes already in the first half, or in the second half, Coach Knight, for Miami after they were 2 for 10 shooting the 3 in the first half.
That was too much defensive freedom on the shot right there. Defense has got to close in on that one.
Well, you get the feeling that Fran Dunphy got tired of watching his guys get beat off the dribble, went to the zone, but the freshman having a nice game. This kid has good promise. Enechionyia, he's from Springfield, Virginia.
He has good awareness. at both ends.
Davon Reed misses everything. The long rebound to Morgan.
I always kind of wanted, if we got a real open three with a good shooter, tell me what you think. I like that, okay, but I didn't want anybody just shooting a three. And if we didn't have a good three-point shoot, let's work it and really work it to get something good out of it rather than taking a bad three at the end.
Like that
three comes up way short for Bond, and he can't track down his own miss.
And Bond's really good pressure. Yeah, too much pressure there.
Newton pulls up, misses the medium-range jumper, and back the other way comes Will Cummings. He'll attack for Temple. That comes up short, but it's knocked out of bounds by Davon Reed. It's a three-point game. The top seed Temple, the 2-seed Miami, meeting here at the Garden, trying to get to Thursday night and the final of the NIT.
The philosophy of geometry.
Only in America does a restaurant famous for its square.
Pass leaves the passer's hands. The defense has got to be moving into position where he takes away the opportunity for the three-point shooter to get set, step into the shot, and if you're late, that's when they're going to hit the three.
How many guys did you coach where you gave them the green light to shoot the jump shot regardless of time and score? Anybody?
Nobody. When it was time and score, there's only one guy going to decide what's going to happen.
I get it.
DeCosi with the rebound off the Cruz-Uceda miss. Cruz-Uceda now 2 for 5 from 3.
But then how did you give during the course of a game a guy who was a good shooter confidence? Nice block right there.
Cummings blocked inside by Davon Reed. Another try, and here comes Manu LeCount. LeCount kicks it to the wings, stepping into a triple, coming up short, James Palmer.
Oh, nice.
The reverse inside won't go for McClellan. He fights to keep it alive. Lost it. Loose on the deck, stripped away. And Eddie Corbett jumps in and stops play. And it looks like it will remain with Miami.
Not a good setup for the three-point shot there. Too quick, didn't get, just not very much to it. We always, I never hesitated to. Well, I had a sign up in our locker room for about as long as I coached that said, "This is not Burger King. You get it my way." And so I never hesitated to tell a kid, look, here's what your value to us is. And we're not shooting three-point shots because it's your turn to take a three. We would take that really good shooter like Steve Alford or Steve Green or Scott May and Laskowski, then those guys had an open three fine. But then we had some great players that went through seasons without taking a three.
Josh Brown with the steal, but can't hit it the other end. Here comes Sheldon McClellan. Off to LeCount. He'll drive it high off the window. That won't go. Back the other way comes Will Cummings. Waiting for some help. Dingle, the trailer. That's an air ball. Brown keeps it alive. The up fake, that's blocked, and it will stay with the Owls with 14 minutes to go.
Boy, we've seen some pretty poor offensive possessions here in the last 4.
I'd like to think we've seen some really good effort, but we haven't seen great execution.
Now, let me tell you, if you were sitting on either bench in these last 3 minutes, tell me you're going to say, boys, our execution is really good out there.
I would have said, the effort's good, but those are bad shots.
That's the first foul on Sheldon McClellan. How about Temple is 3 for 17 in the second half, and they still have a 3-point lead.
Neither team has turned it over much. 5 apiece.
Enechionyia. Sweet move in the post and a chance for the freshman to get an old-fashioned three-point play.
That's a perfect situation of making sure the defensive man on the ball is solidly behind it, so he forces him back to the middle where there's help. He overplayed on defense, and it was a great spin move back into the bucket.
I like the fact, Coach, when he caught it, the young guy, Enechionyia, he looked to the middle to locate where that defender was, and maybe some cutters too. But
moved him to the middle a little bit.
Yes.
Guy went up on the left
Yeah.
shoulder. Right here, he's going to go up on the left shoulder. Now, there's where he got in trouble, right there. He had to stay behind him knowing that he had some help over there. So that's a big cost, Fran. That's 3 points that the defense could have eliminated right there.
Obi Enechionyia becomes the first player for either team in double figures. And only the 4th time this season he's been in double figures. And now he gets the rejection at the other end as he slots the baby jumper from Sheldon McClellan.
You know, I don't think anything makes a coach any more excited than a kid who makes a really good play at one end and immediately comes back and makes a good play at the other end.
Especially when it's a good play on offense and he still wants to play D.
That little jump hook goes for Omar Sherman. Well, I remember hearing Coach Krzyzewski talk about this, obviously one of your proteges, Coach Knight, about how freedom at the offensive end is often predicated from a coaching standpoint on the effort you give me at the defensive end.
Hold it now. He never let Coach K shoot at West Point.
I'm not saying that applied to Coach K as a player. That's just his coaching philosophy. I'm assuming he got it from somebody.
Well, he got it from Coach Knight because he knew not to shoot the ball, right?
Well, I always thought that it was very simple going through the first grade where you learned that the shooters shoot and everybody else guards somebody and rebounds. You know, this isn't a progressive thing where it's your turn to shoot.
There wasn't a democracy.
No, I don't know that I ever had your turn among my vocabulary. Unless it was your turn to sit your butt on the bench because you missed 2 blockouts in a row. Now, that might have been your turn for me.
Did you ever have a guy that you need? Oh, that's a lob play.
McClellan regathers, but lost it. Takeaway by Jesse Morgan. That Cummings foul, by the way, was the first second-half foul for Temple. Morgan, with a hand at his face from 3, forces one up, and it's way short.
Well, you hit it right on the head, Robert. Forces it up. They had to take a little time. Let's get to the free throw line, get something going here.
Burnett turns it over. Well, talking about coaching philosophies, this was Fran Dunphy talking about the influence of John Chaney.
It's what we like to do anyway, but when Coach Chaney convinces you that's the right way to play, and I think we've tried to do our best with that. Sometimes we give a lot of freedom to our guys on offense, and I think our thought is if you give us everything you can on the defensive end, we're going to give you some freedom on offense, but let's use it judiciously, and let's make sure that we're taking good care of the basketball.
I think that I might have said, if you give us everything you've got on the defensive play, we're going to let one guy shoot the ball.
Yeah. Well, you know, when Bob and I, we're watching these guys go at it on the offensive end, and Brown gets a bucket. But, Bob, when we did the Louisiana Tech game, one of the things I said is Temple doesn't turn it over a lot because they shoot it quickly, and sometimes they take tough shots. But Coach Dunphy does like the effort they get on the defensive end.
Sherman knocks it down.
Boy, that was a really nice move with the ball. It was almost a fake thrust, and he pulled it back, and he had clear sailing for the shot, nobody in front of him. That was a neat move.
Morgan, another long 3. That one's too strong, and the freshman Omar Sherman with a defensive rebound.
Yeah, he's going to be a good player, Omar Sherman. He's from Duncanville, Texas.
And here he just tosses up an NBA 3 that comes up way short and rolls out of bounds, which takes us to the under 12 timeout. Who will make it to Thursday night's final? Temple or Miami? We've got about 11 and a half minutes to decide it. To the Final Four. Notre Dame with some unfinished business, and a fiery Maryland team looks to stop UConn's historic quest for their 10th title. The Women's Basketball Championship presented by Capital One. The top seed square off in Tampa. The Final Four begins Sunday at 6:30 on ESPN. Of course, Temple won the first ever NIT back in 1938. Tom Gola, we talked with Coach Knight about him earlier, won the MVP of both the NIT and NCAA in 1954.
Coach, you had a lot of occasions to run into great coaches here at the NIT. You told me about Joe Lapchick and Claire B. And And didn't NYU played North Carolina here one year with Dean Smith?
And Coach B had told Dean, or Dean had called Coach B to come up, and we came up, and it was a heck of a game. NYU beat North Carolina that night. And I remember we took Dean out to eat, you know, and after the game was over, and it was kind of tough on Coach B and I to cheer Dean up a little bit, but a great win for NYU. NYU was very good back in that era. You know, they won a lot of games. They had good players. They had good coaching. NYU was a real, we played them, I think, every year I was at West Point with varying results.
And we've got two former champions in the field. Stanford and Temple, both two-time NIT champions that have made it to the Final Four of the NIT here at the Garden.
See, that's
jumper off the mark from DeAndre Burnett.
That's where I'd like the shot fake, because the defensive man has taken himself out of the play. Now you got a wide open look at it.
Coleman, line drive three, off the mark. And Enechionyia way up in the air to try and keep it alive, but he knocked it out, so it goes back to the Canes.
You know, you always wanted the shot fake on offense, and I always wanted a contested shot on defense. And take a look, Coach. Now, if he shot fakes right here on this contested shot, see that? He goes right by the guy, and he plays 5-on-4.
Exactly. You're 5-on-4, plus you've got an open 12-foot shot. If the defense comes at you, a little bounce pass, and it's a layup. The shot fake is so important as an addition to your offense, and yet I don't see it used a whole lot. We were talking about that earlier.
A reach-in called on Daniel Dingle. That's his second foul in the last minute and a half. How about Temple? 5 for 25 from the field here in the second half.
And
shooting 20%, still on top by 4. Probably in no small part due to the fact they have no second-half turnovers.
Well, and that's exactly right. This is just like John Chaney's Temple teams. And there are a lot of similarities. Temple doesn't play the matchup zone like Coach Chaney did, but the man-to-man defense is really tough.
Davon Reed with a nice pass inside to Omar Sherman, and that makes it a 2-point game.
It's not an artistic masterpiece, but I love the way both teams are competing, especially because we're at the end of the season.
It's a good move. When a kid gives up the ball like he did, now we got another shot at it. We get something better.
Cummings on the drive, blocked by Reed. Davon Reed hands one off to Palmer. That three won't go. An offensive rebound for Sherman, and he's fouled. Bumped underneath, I believe, by Jesse Morgan.
I've always felt that you have to try the defense for a little bit to see what you can get, and then if you take it one way and reverse it, good shot fake, then you've got the three. I never like to see the three be taken in the first part of an offensive possession.
It was Devin Coleman called for the foul. Each team with 4 fouls here in the second half as we pass the midway point. How about the spin move to the baseline by Omar Sherman, but he missed the dunk.
Sherman's been impressive, giving him a lot of energy. He had a big game against Virginia early in the season. 2 freshmen.
Enechionyia, he'll go to the line, fouled by Sherman. He did the hard part, but he couldn't finish.
Let's see if he rotates well. Looks middle, and then a really good spin, just doesn't finish it.
That's, you know, one of the things as you and I have discussed many times, I was not really shot in the fanning with how good the dunk was, but just to avoid that, I wanted a kid to be able to go up with both hands and stuff us in the bucket. You know, when go up one hand and slam, if it slips just a little bit, it's going to hit the rim. But you take it up with both hands, you got an opportunity to just dunk it in the bucket.
Yeah. I remember when Lou Alcindor, David Thompson, guys like that weren't allowed to dunk. Just had to lay it in. Bill Walton, when he had that great game against Memphis.
Oh, but you know, once you're going to the bucket with it, you know, you don't need to slam it or just get it up there with both hands. and make sure you clear the rim with it. Sometimes, you know, how many times in a crucial situation have you seen a slam dunk spiral off the bucket?
About 5 times this season.
Yeah.
In key moments, too.
That one goes down. No doubt about it for James Palmer.
Key moment. There's a key moment with 2 hands on the ball.
Again, that was freshman to freshman. As Burnett found Palmer on the cut, it's a 2-point game again.
That was a key moment.
Cummings backs it out. Under 10 on the shot clock for the Owls once again. Off the Enechionyia screen. Enechionyia for 3. And the long rebound. Ends up with another freshman, Omar Sherman. A little step back, creating space, and rolling it off the rim was DeAndre Burnett. Brown fouled on the drive by James Palmer, but Palmer a highlight at the other end.
Yep, the freshman from D.C. That was emphatic. He wasn't going to miss that one. Get 2 hands on that ball, young man. Finish it. Oh, even Coach Knight like that. 2 hands.
Bench loves it. James Palmer on our ESPN 100 was the #1 recruit from the D.C. region, according to ESPN.com, out of St. John's College High School. And Jim Larrañaga got him to come down south to play at UM. From the corner, that's no good from Cummings. A chance for Miami to tie or take the lead.
Work it a little bit.
Yeah.
Explore it a little bit. Let's see if we can get something going real good.
Turns out Jim Larrañaga knows this is an important possession. They have not had the lead since it was 9-8. He calls time.
Here we go.
98-81 at a time where, again, guys, I don't believe they had a 30-second shot clock or needed it or a 3-point line either. Knocking down a fadeaway 3 is Sheldon McClellan. And that is now Miami's first lead since it was 9-8 in the first half. And now it looks like a cramp for Jalen Bond. He just seized up at midcourt. Now he needs some help getting off the floor.
That's 2 former teammates, McClellan and Bond at Texas.
These are important players that both teams are losing. Tanya Jakiri, the leading rebounder in the ACC, knocked out of the game in the first half. Bond led the AAC in rebounding. And Fran Fraschilla, you wandered over during the break to the Miami bench. We still have not heard up to this point what the story is with Jakiri.
He's got a concussion. He's not going to be back tonight, obviously. Just checked with the Miami bench, and that was the word.
So we'll see if Jalen Bond can make it back for Temple. But again, back in the first half, this was how Jakiri was concussed. Began the game well, was a factor on the offensive glass and in the post, but then Jalen Bond followed up his own miss with this putback, and the left arm inadvertently comes down and catches Jakiri right on the bridge of the nose.
And they're already without Angel Rodriguez, who will likely not play the rest of this season. The junior from Miami who transferred home from Kansas State and has had a very good season.
Speaking of having a great night, Obi Enechionyia continues to add to his career high, up to 15 points now for the freshman, and that puts Temple back on top.
Enechionyia has a nice release with his shot, both the jump shot and with the free throw. Really good.
Sheldon McClellan starting to heat up, hits another 3.
Talking to Jim Larrañaga today, he said that McClellan plays really well with Angel Rodriguez, and they want him to be more aggressive offensively without him.
The strip by Davon Reed. Took it away from DeCozy. A little jump stop across the lane. What a move by the freshman James Palmer. And Miami extends their lead to 2 possessions. Cummings answers the other way, though, for Temple. And a quick timeout called by Fran Dunphy after the bucket by Will Cummings.
Well, I love the offense, but the transition defense on both ends needs a little bit of work. This is, you know, it looks like it's a fancy
Game 2 of the doubleheader, and that comes up 20 minutes after Game 1 wraps up. So right now the Monarchs back in the locker room along with the Cardinal, getting set for their matchup to follow Miami and Temple. A Foul up top called on Josh Brown.
Used to do a little bit of a thing, Fran, where we would have the players play defense with their hands behind their back. So they get used to playing defense with their feet rather than their hands. And that was right there a case of getting the hands in there where it wasn't going to do any good.
You know, one of the drills I stole from you was switch and change. And we would change ends and make sure we built our defense before the offense could get back. We see some of that poor transition you talked about.
Newton leans in, and he draws a foul. So that will send Jaquan Newton to the free throw line. Miami's first free throw attempts of the second half. They were 3 for 4 in the first half.
And Bob, we've talked about this. We've got two tough teams out there. Both teams are very competitive, take after their coaches. But when Miami got down early in this game, we talked about those couple of comebacks they've had this year, including being down 18 with 16 minutes to go the other night at Richmond.
You know, they have really done, I think, an extraordinarily good job staying in it. You know, they haven't let, once they got back in the game, they've been able to make it an even ball game. And there was a point there where that might not have happened.
How about the block by Jaquan Newton? Coming the other way, it's Palmer. Sets Newton up. He floats it around the rim and through, but they'll call it basket interference.
Yep, John Gaffney, the official, was right on it. Jim Larinaga knows that. Take a look. Newton's going to almost finish this. And it's just really hard for Sheldon McClellan to stay away from that ball. They got to think better of that. But I always didn't mind, Coach, the era of commission rather than omission. I didn't mind the guy trying to make a play.
Another bucket for Enechionyia, up to 17 for Temple.
But you've got to let that one hang on the rim, though.
Yeah. That would have been good in international basketball. But I know you're not a big fan of that game.
Here's Jaquan Newton using the screen. Sets up Cruz Uceda. The long rebound run down by Jesse Morgan.
Patience in the drive gives you more opportunities than the three-point shot is ever going to give you.
DeCozy just about had his pocket picked by Davon Reed. To Cummings instead. Short for 3. Another rebound for the freshman Jaquan Newton, who's a terrific story. His mom, Lisa Brown, passed away from breast cancer last March. 1 day later, he scored 33 points in the Pennsylvania State Championship game for Newman Garrett Ready High School.
Yeah, he played in a great program. His dad's here tonight. His dad was the Division II National Player of the Year back in 1998 at Central Oklahoma.
And Airy is knocking down the jumper.
Yep. Philly kid. Newman Goretti is a great high school program in Philadelphia. I think this young man went to 4 state finals.
A big, big defensive possession right here for Miami.
Josh Brown with the shot clock down to 5. Off to Cummings. Shot clock at 2. Brown from NBA range. Off the mark.
Well, that was a really, really good defensive possession, and particularly with that three-point lead they've got.
Yep.
Now, when you have a chance down at this phase of the game to extend the lead, that is so important. And you do it by good defense, not fouling. Don't give them a good shot. Now let our offense take over.
Sheldon McClellan was blocked by the front of the rim. But a foul called, and that will put the Texas transfer at the line. Speaking of great guard play.
Yeah, this guy was pretty good right there. Mark Macon, 2,600 points for John Chaney, outstanding player. Howard Evans played in the backcourt with him. That looked like Nate Blackwell behind him. I wasn't sure. Aaron McKee, who's now on the bench after a terrific career. I know you have a fondness, Coach, for John Chaney, because of the way he kind of handled himself in his program.
John Chaney's one of my all-time favorite people. I couldn't tell you. Take me a while to tell you just how much I thought of and respected John Chaney. And John Thompson was another that I felt that way about all the while in coaching.
Cummings on the drive, pinned up against the glass. Another block by Omar Sherman. He got 2. McClellan at the other end swoops in and scores, and Miami extends their largest lead. It's up to 7.
You know what I loved about that is they ran the floor hard, Miami.
Well, when you make a good stand defensively in a close game, that opens up things for you at the other end. But what Miami has done.
Well, we talked about the resiliency of Miami, a team that trailed Richmond by 18 in the second half on the road, came back and won, and they're showing you that tonight. Tough defense.
Miami scored 45 in the second half of their win against Richmond, and they've already got 31 in the second half tonight. Josh Brown, foul.
Got to get that foot on the baseline so the driver has to drive into people, not the bucket. Take away that baseline.
James Palmer called for the foul, so free throws to try and draw Temple closer when we come back. We've got coaches tonight that played across the board. We'll flash back when we return.
Dawkins on the '84 Olympic team, and he was telling me today about how much Michael Jordan impacted his game at practice every day.
Well, Johnny, we had great guards in Vern Fleming and Alvin Robertson, and those two guys could guard Brinks. I mean, they were so good. But Johnny was a kid that just worked his tail off, and I asked him if he'd like to stay around for a while because he was good offensively even then, and he was a good kid to have to guard, but with our defensive guards.
He told me about Michael Jordan and how he showed up every day in practice. Tell me what he was talking about.
Michael Jordan was here to play more than anybody I've ever known. And I mean, it wasn't to show up for a game. He was here to win. And he had an influence on players, the likes of which I've not seen except for Bill Russell, who I think was without any reservation the most valuable player ever to play the game, and maybe the most valuable player ever to play anything. 13 years with the Celtics, 11 world championships, the same thing, NCAA title, Olympic title. Most valuable player ever to play a sport, Russell.
Who's going to have a chance to win this year's NIT championship? DeCozy on the drive, trying to keep Temple alive as they're back within 3 against Miami with 2.5 minutes to go.
And Bob, Temple's gone to 4 guards right now with the design of spreading the court and just trying to drive it into open areas. Good example right there.
Well, they've got that 30 seconds to use, and at 35 now, or whatever they've made it to.
That's down to 30.
And they got a lot of time.
Great hands by Jesse Morgan. The second consecutive trip that Morgan has had hands to create a turnover. Here's DeCozy. He'll drive it, send it to the corner. Wide open Cummings. That's off the mark.
That was a big, big defensive possession right there.
If it ultimately comes down to Temple needing a 3, those were not friendly numbers for Fran Dunphy's team. They are 2 for 17 shooting a 3 tonight, and they're down by 3 with 90 seconds to go.
And 340th in the country, by the way.
Newton straight away. No good. Another rebound for the freshman Enechionyia. DeCozy, he'll try a triple. That's no good. 2 for 18 are the Owls from downtown. And they're still down 3 as we come up on 1 minute to go.
I'm going to guess you wanted to move the ball a little bit and drive it some.
Yeah, I think that at this point, when you're behind, like they're down in a tight game, let's don't try to win it with 3-point shots. Let's try to win it at the free throw line, because I think that Miami's going to be really on edge to hold that 3-point lead. If Temple takes it to the bucket, they're going to shoot free throw.
You know, I love the idea of driving it, because the other coach is saying, let's play defense, but don't foul.
Don't foul.
Yeah.
Don't foul. Every kid is going to be really alert to not making a foul, and that's going to create some offense. You're right. Absolutely right, Fred.
Both teams out of fouls to give. Both teams with 2 timeouts. Miami has the arrow and a near turnover by McClellan. Instead, he steps into a jumper that hits the backboard first. In transition, here comes Will Cummings. He'll attack. Throw a wild one up that somehow goes through. Then Fran Dunphy calls time.
It was a terrible shot taken by
McClellan at this end.
By Miami at that time. I mean, that's the one thing that you just don't want. You had more center, they take away the drive, because I would think that Miami has got to use up time. They've got to.
DeAndre Burnett's going to go right to the bucket and score. And Jim Larrañaga wants an immediate timeout.
How much did I miss that one?
Well, you know what I liked about it is they kind of went 2 for 1. They still may have a chance to get another possession in case Temple scores.
Well, not only that, but I think, are we going to try and just get a couple of points here?
They've missed 15 straight threes.
I'd love to get the quick 2 and then set up my press.
DeCozy will attack the rim and get fouled. Miami can't believe the call, but they're going to say DeAndre Burnett fouled Quentin DeCozy. So the junior just across the river in Union, New Jersey, who played at St. Joe's Metuchen. One of our colleagues, of course, made a pretty good name for himself, Fran Fraschilla, playing at St. Joe's.
Jay Williams, absolutely. Carl Anthony Towns.
Well, I'll tell you, that may be the best thing that could have happened out here as far as Temple's offense is concerned. It will be if he makes both of these.
DeCozy shoots 68%.
No.
Oh, well. I'd still make the second, obviously. Set up my press, and now you got to foul if you can't steal it.
Thing that I don't like about his chances for a second one is that was way off.
Yeah.
That was over on the left rim.
I want you to watch his guide hand, Coach. His left hand's moving all over the place when he shoots it.
Missed them both. McClellan's got the rebound. He shoots 82%, 5th best in the ACC, and he'll go to the line at the other end. Let's take a closer look at the hands of Quentin DeCozy. Back-to-back misses.
There's a lot of spin on this shot. He's got that guide hand on top of the basketball.
That was a terrible hold of the ball. That what Fran is talking about is that the left hand is pushing against the right hand, and the right-handed shooter should have the left hand on the left side of the basketball so he can release the pressure as the shot is taken. Just like that. Now watch his hands here. You young guys out there, watch how that left hand comes off the ball, and it's completely delivered by the right hand right there.
Perfect. Good call, Coach.
McClellan makes them both. 5-point lead. And now Temple at some point, you'd have to think is going to need his 3. But a foul on the drive will put Cummings at the line to shoot a double bonus. That's team foul number 10 against Miami. So it's an automatic 2 for Will Cummings.
You know, that's almost a time. What do you think, Fran? That's almost a time when Miami got both of those free throws to take a timeout because they've got a couple left.
And set your defense up.
Let's get set on what we're doing here, and let's make sure that we are all on the same page that this game has not been won.
Well, Jim Larrañaga won't listen to me because you got the 3 national titles. So you tell him.
No, I'm just saying.
I agree.
I would be very tempted. I was talking about me. I'd be very tempted to have taken a timeout there because I think they've got at least 2 left.
Fran Dunphy will call a timeout here to try and set up the pressure. It's a 1-possession game again.
Well, that one timeout to use just in case they get in trouble right here.
He's got to start left and come back hard right. There he is.
Burnett fouled in the corner. Now, he is only a freshman, a redshirt freshman at that. He played in 1 exhibition game last season, then hurt his wrist before the season opener and had to take a medical redshirt. He shoots 89% at the line, but these obviously are different kind of free throws than a Tuesday night in the regular season in December or January.
But this is fun. This is the Miami team that's going to return everybody next season except for Joe Thomas. So, hey, you're here in early April, late March. Why not put a little pressure on these guys?
That was team foul number 9, so he misses the front end of a 1-and-1. Now, does Miami foul, or do they even allow a 3 to get off? Enechionyia gives it up. DeCozy for the tie. Too strong. Miami lets Temple get a 3 off at the buzzer, and it's another Owls miss from behind the arc, and the Canes escape with a 3-point win. They're headed to the NIT championship.